We're at the end of the second day exhibiting at the UK Games Expo here at the NEC, Hall 1. So everybody's cleared out, and I thought I'd do a summary of what we've learned so far from the feedback from gamers that have come and had a look at the table. We've tested the spill system about a dozen times, taken the lids on and off, and got as much feedback as we can to make the third and final prototype the best that it can be. And one thing we have decided is we are absolutely going to launch a Kickstarter for this, because the interest and the appreciation of this design has been really quite overwhelming. We do feel that it's got a special place in the market. It's not the high end, but it's a quality product that is looking to be valued at less than some of the Geek and Sun tables basically are the big competitor. So people are seeing the value in it. They don't see it as something that should be underpriced. And when we have talked about price, what we're saying is around about £2,000, but hopefully in quantity we'd be bringing it down. One of the big things I wanted to gauge was whether the size suits most people. And the majority feedback is that it does, because although some gamers would like to have maybe a 3-foot or 900mm recess playing area for certain games and for certain play mats, the majority are saying, well, okay, occasionally I might use that, but the trade-off would be that the tabletop would be bigger, and what I want is a dining table that's going to fit in my house. I think the niche that we're meeting with this design is it looks like a dining table when it's not in use as a gaming table. In fact, what I'll do is I'll set it up now fully as a dining table so you can see that while I talk about it. We've had a lot of interest from couples where one of them is big into gaming and the other is not quite so keen, and they've had trouble persuading them to invest in a gaming table because it doesn't really look like a normal dining table. So what's drawn a lot of people to this is the simplicity of the design and the fact that it doesn't shout about being a games table. So I think the other aspect is we've tried to think of everything and offer it as a package. So you have the box that will store the top leaves, so they can be safely accommodated when the box is out and they go into it, as you may have seen earlier. That also accommodates the add-ons which go into the slot, which is discreetly hidden, so generally you don't even really know that it's there. The way the box is designed, it's sized so that it will go under the table, and when you're sitting eating, your feet don't really hit it. But if you did want to stretch your feet out, that open design allows you to stretch your feet through it or past it. The other reason for that design is that all of the parts for this have been optimized to fit on just 3 sheets of birch plywood, and that choice of material has proved popular. The oak veneered birch plywood, everybody seems to like that, and people like how there's this efficient use of material and a minimum of wastage. We've also had some interest in how it's finished in a water-based, environmentally friendly finish, which is also very tough. It's an industrial finish. It's scratch resistant, very spill resistant. We have had quite a lot of interest from board gaming cafes. Three from all around the country are interested in us producing a variation. They all want something a little bit different. One of them wants a square table with slightly bigger dimensions, with an add-on that has like a pizza size tray beyond the gaming area, and a cup holder with a variation to that, and they wouldn't want any tops on. Another one wants a long table, so you've got 4 people facing 4, and another place has very specific requirements where they do want tops on because they feel that their customers would want the tops. So we've realized from this show that there's a big market in addition to the market we were first targeting, which is the consumer for a table in their home. There's a specialized tables made solely for board gaming in a cafe environment. I thought I'd talk you through some of the feedback that we've received, because we wanted to see where the table sort of sits in the market for people, and what they're saying they want, what they would change, what they would keep. So we did that with a simple tally system with a few key questions that I already thought needed to be addressed. And then as people have suggested other things, we've added certain ideas and possible improvements. So I've had a copy, Andy and Becky have had a copy, and we're going to, after the final day tomorrow, add those all up and see where there's a majority consensus for a feature, or where people are on the fence, and then that's going to help us to establish exactly the options that we bring to the Kickstarter offering. So the highlights from that are, we are definitely going to add a strake board. So that means when you want to leave just one top on at the end, there's going to be a stop board, so you can still use the playing area without your dice disappearing under that leaf. And that's a popular option because you can put your snacks on that, and a lot of games, the 2/3 that are left of the playing area is big enough to do that on. We're also going to improve the locking mechanism for the inserts, the cup holders and trays that you can add on. We're keeping the distinctive principle of having the slot tucked under the overhang. It's different to others on the market where the slot is on the midpoint of this rail, so it's visible there. And they have a mechanism which goes in and interlocks, sort of tilts and interlocks like that. I'm not showing that very well, but for our table we've decided to keep the slot hidden, and the only challenge has been the locking mechanism. The strength of that, the support of that is great, it's just resisting the pull-out. You don't want to knock it as you go by. So this is already the second iteration of that, where we've got this bird that locks into a slot and goes up into a groove. I'll show that a bit more. So that would go up and sort of like a cam lock, engage into that groove there, and it stops it coming out. But we found it to be a little bit too problematic. It relies a lot on friction, it might wear, and those birds might drop out over time. So I've already got a plan about how we're going to design that, and I'll be showing a video of that when that's made in the final prototype. The feedback on the playing area has been, as I think I said, that it's just about right for most people. So we are going to stick with that, which is really great news, because the sizing is so optimized for the material that if I was obliged to make it bigger, there would definitely be a jump up in cost, because I would be using another board. I'd be sort of spilling it over onto another board for the components that make the whole table up. So we seem to have hit upon a bit of a sweet spot with the size, and I'll just let you know what that is. I'm showing you this, and you'll find that elsewhere on our social media. As I say, it is a bit less than 3 foot. It's about 85 centimeters in the playing area, but it's somewhat over a meter, about 1 meter and 3 centimeters for the dining tops. So another key question I wanted to run past people was whether they would choose this color, which is a natural light oak, or whether it's important to people to have a wood stain option of perhaps a few different stains of wood. And people were round about half and half between those that I asked and those that Andy and Becky asked. There's quite a sizable number of people that say, do you know, I like this colour, I would go with it. So I'm thinking we probably make this the main colour, and this may be the base of the Kickstarter. It might be a stretch goal or just something we add later to have the wood stain option, because that will interrupt production and add costs to be spraying in a different finish. There was a bit of a consensus against lighting strips. I asked if it was important for people that we put LED lighting down it. Most people said they feel that's a gimmick. It may be just that the sort of people who are drawn to this particular table aren't so keen on that option, because I know that it can be a popular option on the very high-end tables, but the feedback has been enough for us to decide that we are not going to put the LED lighting option in the initial release on Kickstarter. Now, the suggestion that got a very popular response, a lot of approval from people, was that we have an upgrade option for a fourth leaf. So the basic table has the 3 leaves, and it is about, let me just check, with the 3 leaves it's about 165 centimeters long. That's the dining top. People liked that length, they liked that size, but they liked the idea that they could extend it to use when family comes round for Christmas or whatever. So they've just got that option that they could have a bigger table. Now, we feel that we can do this fairly simply with the basic design that we've already got. We would add on a type of support bracket similar to this tray, and that would be set up so that it would support the overhang with, of course, the new locking mechanism. So it'd probably just be two brackets. Yeah, so the arrangement would be like this, that there's a fourth leaf added in, and the 2 end leaves project half their width over the end of the table either side. So structurally, I'm confident we could make that work, and that would then give the option of having pretty much the complete playing surface with 1 leaf sticking over the end for the Games Master, or just to put your snacks on, which has proved to be quite popular. From a design point of view, it's a bit of a challenge to resolve all the factors with this, because it would have to be an inserted leaf. It couldn't be a fourth leaf on the end because of the rounded corners. So we need to move the end pieces that have the rounded corners to the end, and we also want to retain the drip stop feature. So those finished ends would have to be outside, and we'd have to insert a new piece with the rebates with the rubber gaskets in that form the drip stop. The only real downside of that is then that the continuous grain, which is one of the features of the 3 tops, would be interrupted with a piece of oak veneered birch ply that has a slightly different grain. However, on talking to people, they generally felt that was really not a big issue, and there's not really much of a way around it, and it's only for occasional use, so it makes sense to keep the continuous grain on the 3-piece top, but have that option to add in. Now, that 4th piece, we reckon we would store underneath the table, so it would just slot under, and that doesn't reduce the knee height so much that it would be a problem. So that would just be totally out of the way for general usage of the table, whether or not you're gaming on it or dining on it with the 3 leaves, and that could just be slid out, added on, and then we don't have to have an additional slot and additional size for the boards box. That can just be the standard model. We've also had a small amount of interest in a square option for people with small amount of interest in a square option for people in perhaps small flats. This could, in a similar way to the extra leaf on the main option, it could have the extra leaf so that it extends to a 3-leaf table, which would then be just the same size as this dining table, but with the smaller base. And then when you're gaming, you just have a smaller gaming area, which okay, cheers. Right, I've got to leave now because they are locking up. But that's basically the summary for you. We have got this final day tomorrow to get more feedback, but it's all looking good. We will take this to Kickstarter, and we're starting to really narrow down the final design, so it's really as good as it can be, based on the feedback that we've got from real board gaming enthusiasts. Okay, thank you for watching.